At the start of the 1946-47 season, Burnley were in Division 2, and the Football League had restarted after 7 years of war. The Burnley players were all back after 7 years in His Majesty's Armed Services. And the Clarets had a good start to the season, losing only twice up to Christmas 1946. Their good form continued into 1947 and also in the FA Cup with a big victory over First Division Aston Villa 5-1 at Turf Moor. After the stunning giant killing of Aston Villa, Burnley were next drawn against Coventry City at Turf Moor.
There were some 50,000 spectators present when Burnley were at home to Coventry in their fourth-round cup tie match. All were eagerly awaiting the thrills that always accompany such a clash, for Wembley is the goal. Burnley were first out onto the field. Coventry in striped shirts followed. Then the home team kicked off. Within a few minutes it began to look as if Burnley had the measure of their opponents. The ground was in a sorry state, making it difficult for players to keep their feet and soon making the ball very heavy indeed. But Burnley had the best of it and kept up constant pressure. Their efforts were rewarded after half an hour when Holden scored. 1 up, but that's not enough to make sure of victory, and Burnley continued to have most of the game. Both teams were held up by the mud, but Coventry were less able to cope with it. After 40 minutes, Burnley got their second through Elliott. With no score in the second half, Burnley passed on to the next round.
From the end of January, a cold spell causing falls of snow across the country and with temperatures as low as 21 below set in. Stockpiles of coal froze and fuel shortages followed in a country already experiencing post-war rationing. In the fifth round, Burnley faced Luton Town away from home. After securing a 0-0 draw, the Clarets came home to Turf Moor and beat Luton 3-0 with a Ray Harrison hat-trick. That set up a quarter-final with Middlesbrough away from home. Ayerson Park, and a 53,000 crowd saw the Clarets secure a 1-1 draw. The replay at Turf Moor 3 days later brought another huge crowd of 49,000 on a Tuesday afternoon. The replay went to extra time, but in the 94th minute Burnley's Billy Morris scored the winner to send the Clarets through to the semi-finals. The semi-finals have placed Newcastle United against Charlton Athletic at Elland Road, while Burnley faced Liverpool at Ewood Park. The league tables on the day of the semi-finals showed Liverpool in third place in Division 1, while Burnley were second in Division 2. The semi-final at Ewood was played in drenching rain and a heavy pitch, but Burnley's Iron Curtain defence held out against Liverpool's forward line, and the game ended 0-0 after extra time.
Well over 50,000 were at Blackburn to see the Liverpool-Burnley FA Cup semi-final. The weather was unkind, but everyone was full of enthusiasm just the same. In fact, one or two were, well, you'll see what I mean. Burnley in dark shorts, Liverpool in white shorts. Burnley kick off and the all-Lancashire duel to decide who's to go to Wembley begins. Though the match was inconclusive, both sides took it in turns to press very hard. Here's a study of the Liverpool defence keeping Burnley out. Harrison heads a centre from Kipax over the bar, just the sort of thing that went on at both ends up to and after half-time. Here's Burnley warding off attacks by Liverpool in the second half. There were plenty of dangerous moments for both sides, but there was no score even after extra time had been played. To this extent at least, the match was disappointing, but it was only one item of a great day's sport throughout the country.
Charlton Athletic defeated 2nd Division Newcastle 4-0 and would await the winners of the replay that was held on the 12th of April at Main Road, Manchester. The semi-final replay played on a Saturday afternoon and attracted a crowd of 72,000. Sadly, no film footage of Burnley's winning goal, scored by centre-forward Ray Harrison, could be found. Burnley had won and were going to the cup final in only 14 days' time. The excitement brought by Burnley's giant-killing semi-final victory led to long queues forming for tickets outside Turf Moor, which opened long hours to make sure that the one ticket, one person rule was carried out. Some 15,000 Burnley fans left on Friday evening and Saturday morning for the big day, on overnight trains and coaches. 5 aircraft have been chartered by some Burnley fans, departing from Samlesbury Airfield in 6-seater planes, landing at Hendon Airport at 1 o'clock. The Burnley team to face Charlton had been unchanged for several weeks. Jimmy Strong in goal, fullbacks Woodruff and Mather, halfbacks Atwell, Alan Brown and George Bray, and up front Chew, Morris, Harrison, Harry Potts and Peter Kippax. It was a glorious sunny day in London as fans of Burnley and Charlton began arriving for the cup final.
Now for some really serious sport, and here are just a few of the 99,000 people lucky enough to get into Wembley to watch it. Conditions were unbelievably perfect. The weather was so fine this couldn't be England, surely. What's more, this match was a particularly open one. Would Charlton make up for last year, or would Burnley take the trophy north? Well, here come the teams to answer those questions. Charlton wearing white shirts. The Duke of Gloucester, who was going to present the cup, was accompanied by the Earl of Athlone and other FA officials. After the national anthem, the teams were presented. First, Burnley's captain, Alan Brown, and the men he led. Then Don Welsh and the rest of the Charlton 11. After greeting Mr. Wiltshire, the ref, Welsh proceeded to win the toss from Brown. So Harrison kicked off for Burnley, playing into the sun and against a very slight breeze. Naturally, it takes some time to settle down in a cup final, and at first play swung pretty freely from end to end of the field. Now for an impression of a Burnley attacking movement which might have sent Billy Morris through to have a crack, but ended in stalemate. Next, a camera note of Alan Brown, number 5, in action. He played a great game and worked like a slave. There's no doubt about it, Burnley missed more than one chance. Morris shoots over the bar, for example. But their defence did great things. Harold Mather clears from the goal line itself. That was a blow for Charlton, and Burnley promptly counter-attacked. In fact, that's how it went, all through the first and second halves. Duffy was on his toes all right, but at the time it got him nowhere. Mr. Herbert Morrison was there celebrating his convalescence, and the Prime Minister seemed to be enjoying the prolonged suspense. Certainly the crowd were kept guessing this year, and they showed their nervous reaction in various ways. Even the first half of extra time produced no goals, so off they went again. Talk about marathon soccer, this was it all right. Even now, there didn't seem to be any reason to suppose that either side could break through the opposing defence and score. Like his opposite number, Alan Brown, Harold Phipps, number 5, Charlton's centre-half, played a remarkably stout game. But as I said before, lots of chances were missed. Sam Bartram, by the way, had a lot of work to do in Charlton's goal, and he did it in absolutely first-class style. As we all know now, Chris Duffy, who worked so hard he even played on the right wing as well as the left, proved to be the match-winning hero. With about 5 minutes to go, he scored with a first-timer. And having done so, he had quite a long run before he could find Jack Shreve to tell him all about it. Burnley fans were definitely not amused. But for the benefit of Charlton supporters, here's another view of how Duffy did it. Look out, Jack, here he comes again. All that remained now was the triumph. Medals were presented by the Duchess of Gloucester, the cup itself by the Duke. It had been a tough match with a very thrilling finish. The huge crowd continued to express its feelings, but Don Welsh rightly said the last word on the subject.
We're all very pleased to have won this cup after such a disappointing year last year when we lost. We're very tired, we've all got cramp, but it's a wonderful feeling. Thanks.
Despite losing the final, Burnley could be quite proud of their showing in the cup against a tough side who had lost in the final the previous year. The Clarets received a great homecoming on the Monday afternoon as thousands of fans gathered at the town hall to welcome the team home. The league season was still to be concluded and the Clarets had 7 games remaining, which saw them eventually gain promotion as Division 2 runners-up to Manchester City. It had been a long, gruelling season of 11 months, but the Clarets had come through and would go on to a brighter future thanks to Cliff Britton and his heroic side of 1946-47.